I'm like remixing. Happy Tuesday, beautiful souls, wherever you are on this phenomenal planet, where we shift our thinking for 13 minutes of our day, of our time. We do it together. We connect, build, and share. Oh my goodness. I trust you have been having a very, very powerful week. I have. If you're new to the show, this is where we transform our inner experience to a phenomenal outer experience for 13 minutes of our day, our time. We do it together. We connect, build, and share. I had to redo that again because that's the line I've been saying. Okay, so make sure you drop in the comments box, say hi, say hello. Shout out to A-Lee Real Estate, Anthony in Philly, Ty in DC. Hey fam, who else is on? Marquise, hey Marquise. I am really feeling amazing and I've got great momentum happening and that's good. And this episode I am calling Don't Mind My Anger. We are on episode 60. This is episode 60. So if, you've been feeling a little bit angry, let's talk about it. Let's talk about some healthy anger. Let's talk about how we can manage that and work through some coping techniques. Now, I definitely do forgive me because while I'm doing this, I'm actually pasting the caption on Facebook so that we can have it on the live stream. Episode 59, Don't Mind My Anger. And we are continuing our segment from Shift Your Thinking, 200 Ways to Improve Our Lives with Dean Del Sesto. And you've guessed it, 200 ways. We're going to finish 200 ways to do this. I'm in the section that says mind over matter. So if you have a copy of this book, cool. I've been getting a lot of great feedback, by the way, for people who actually won the copy from me. And they really are saying, yes, this book is really good. And notice that I don't jump ahead. I think when I first started this, I said, I don't jump ahead. So when I finish today, I'm not going in there and I'm not fast forwarding. I really like to come in here with a fresh mind, clear thoughts, and so that my thoughts, my opinions are authentic. Hey, Curry the realtor in the building. Shout out to my Instagram family. Shout out to my Facebook family. Mark Spears, thanks. Mark is always showing me love on Facebook. So Mark, thank you for that. You rock. You're amazing. And let us jump right in. He says, mind over matter. This is where I'm in the section, mind over matter. Prolonged anger, he says, will do nothing more than drive you mad. So how many of us have been holding it in? Oh, I'm just so angry. I'm just gonna pop. No, don't do that. The inner turmoil of a mad person, he says, the inner turmoil of a mad person is seldom overt or publicly visible. I hear my mic popping, so let me see if those of you listening to me on the gram, let me know if that's just a little too much. I got to get a mic that can handle my energy. By the way, I really love the results I'm getting from my mic. The clarity is awesome. Thanks, Aaron. Shout out to Aaron Johnson who shared the video. Thank you, fam. Really, Lakeisha Bright, thank you for sharing. You guys are amazing. He says, you rarely ever see someone walking around with a scrunched up scowl on their face, stomping down the street, snapping at bystanders in a fit of rage. Depending on what part of town you are, that might be very normal. It may seem very normal. It's a perception that could be normal. Again, depending on what part of town you're from or are in, those fits of rage may seem like very normal. I thought about that because yesterday, as I was coming from showing a property and I was crossing the freeway, freeways tend to be markers about, freeways from a real estate standpoint tend to be markers where communities are divided, right? Everyone knows the east, oh, don't go on the east side of that freeway, or north side, west side, and they tend to be markers by the freeway. And sadly, it tends to be a little bit rough, right? It tends to be a little bit rough by the freeways. And so without, of course, there are those that have some mental illness. Mental illness is very, very real, and it's very rampant in our communities. And let's make sure we make the phone calls. If we see someone that needs some help, let's not get to a place in life where we are really ignoring it and think that it's okay. And let me just go here real quick, because I saw a couple yesterday, young couple, and they were physically fighting. I think they looked like maybe 18, 19. They could be younger, in front of a whole bunch of people at the gas station. I was pumping gas, and I was the one, I guess my mommy self came out, and I was like, hey, cut that out. Hey, cut that out, I said to them. And, sometimes when couples are arguing, they might just need some time apart. And so that's what I was thinking. I said, maybe they need some time apart. They were waiting for the bus. And I said, I drove by, and it was a young girl, and she started to take off, and I pulled up and I said, hey, do you need a ride somewhere? And she was like, yeah, she was kind of in a fits of tears. And I was just, going to take her to the next stop or something. And he came over, her boyfriend or whatever the situationship was, he came over and he was mad at her, like, you're getting a car and a stranger, He snatched her up, and they started to kind of scuffle again. And I said, well, I'm calling the police. And I did. I called the police. Why? Because too many times we think that is the proper way of communicating in a relationship. And it is not. It is not okay for you to put your hands on another human being. It is not okay. Not on my watch. And so, and that goes both ways for the couple. So I called the cops. I told the cops, hey, I'm taking off, gave them the description, and I left. So they need to get some help. And sometimes, those taps become punches becomes weapons, replaced with weapons, and then something really tragic happens. So let's not ignore those instances of DV, domestic violence, even if it seems so small, you guys, because you never know when you can save somebody's life or that other person, and perhaps they'll learn that that's not the proper way to communicate, because there's some real consequences that can escape into. So sidebar, yes, and I had to go there, especially since we're talking about anger, especially because we're talking about anger. It is not okay. All right, so here we go. He says, you rarely see someone walking around, right? And he says, anger is much more subversive than that. Here we go. Getting love from Jaw Branch. Did I say it? Yes, Jaw Branch. Abba Estates in the building. Alton. IG fam is in the building. And he says it's subversive. And that's right, because here's an emotion that is bubbling. And this is what I really like about doing Shift Your Thinking, because here we're talking about emotional quotient. EQ, emotional intelligence, the ability to transform, transmute, comprehend the inner of our world, the inner, because when it shows up, that means it's already been at a tipping point inside. So he says, anger generally manifests in an inner tone. I just said this, that lies in wait for something to set it off, to offend it. Remember the movie Set It Off? That's what it was, right? There were so many factors happening with the young ladies in that movie. So they were like, yo, we got to go do this. And I think it was one of the sisters' baby needed some money for surgery. And I think it was something like that, some acute situation that happened. That then was the tipping point. The tipping point. I know what it is. I think my I hear the echo popping, but I know what it is. I think my volume is too high. So let me make that adjustment. Okay. Could be I have a lot of energy too. You already know. I'm a lot of fire. Sagittarius in the 4th house. Stellium. Sag stellium, y'all. He says, depending on the level of the anger or the circumstances, the explosion of an inner tone of anger can be damaging beyond repair. Let's talk about this. Depending on the level, I'm going to reread it, depending on the level of the anger or the circumstances, the explosion of an inner tone of anger can be damaging beyond repair. Let's talk about the damaging beyond repair. At a point where we are experiencing those circumstances that fester, those emotional, and right now we're focusing on anger, right? So the section today, for those of you just chimed in, we're on episode 59, it says, don't mind my anger. Don't mind my anger. I'm being facetious about that because you absolutely need to be minding your anger, paying attention to the triggers or potential insults or things that may offend you, because it's oftentimes not the external that is happening. It's inside. What is it about this situation, that person, that thing, what was said, what I'm seeing, experiencing, witnessing that is triggering in me? I just shared with you about the situation with the young couple of the DV. Why did I call? Because it was a trigger for me, because I have been and experienced DV and been in a domestic violence relationship. And so had someone maybe made a phone call, possibly could change my life a lot sooner than later. So as I relate that to the inner work and the anger, what is happening? What are the circumstances that may be triggering you? Because it's in there waiting to be offended, right? Especially us, especially those, us as a people. We say things like, I wish somebody would. Ooh, I wish somebody would. You gonna get these hands. You gonna get these hands. And we have all this energy wishing somebody would, because we want to snap on somebody. And at that point of snapping could potentially be the point of no return. Is it worth it? That is the emotional intelligence that would need to take place for you to ask, is it worth it? Is it worth it to you? Let's continue. In contrast, he says, anger expressed in small doses that don't convert to tantrum tidal waves is not unhealthy at all. I like this. He says, in fact, anger isn't a bad emotion. No, it isn't. There's spectrums and frequencies of each emotion. And so I like that he says as a coping strategy for this, instead of, ooh, I wish you would, instead of you waiting for it to boil over, let's do the doses. Let's learn more. He says, but if it builds up over time, it will cloud thinking so severely that we'll lose all reason and all reasons to deal with the issues at hand. And our emotional vents, I have used that one before. Our emotional vents will shut and the heat will store up. That is so funny. Wow, that reminds me of something. He says, let's face it, anger happens. And have I said at all at any point that it's not okay to be angry? No. It is a valid emotion. It's a valid emotion. It's what we do with it. Because I've been angry, I've been hurt, I've been sad, I've been disappointed. I'm a human being. You feel that too, right? So, as we're talking about don't mind my anger facetiously, don't mind my anger, let's do it in small doses. He says, let's face it, anger happens, and in quick release with a touch of restraint, it is healthy. But holding on to anger is our choice. Listen to that. Holding on to anger is our choice. And when we let it build, anger will store in the body just like fat does. Anger will be stored in the body just like fat does. Let's talk about the physiology of that. This is very huge because cancers, tumors, and various other ailments, dis-ease. Notice dis-ease, diseases, dis-ease in the body, oftentimes are things that we are storing, pain that we are storing in our body. Studies have been shown about this. Studies have shown about how meditative practices have healed those with cancers, has healed those with tumors, because they have released and let go some of the anger that has possibly been stored. And there's a meme going on around on social media actually that says various parts of the bodies that are impacted by certain pain, like the liver and the kidney and the womb and the neck, the back. I pay attention to that. If you find that around there, please tag me in it. I had screenshotted at one point because there's some real truth about it. Your mind and your body are not disconnected. Your body and your mind are not disconnected. Your spirit, mind, and body are not disconnected. So when I say facetiously to you, don't mind my matter, don't mind my anger. I know I said, because he says mind over matter. Don't mind my anger. Absolutely, you should be minding it. But he says, not to the point in which you are not releasing it. On one of the earlier episodes, and I'm going to wrap this up. On one of the earlier episodes, I remember saying, have you been able to practice or utilize the phrase, I am angry because blank, fill in the blank. I am sad because fill in the blank. I am happy because fill in the blank. When you activate those powers, those words inside of you to identify what it is that you're feeling and potentially why are you feeling that way? I am stressed because, I am frustrated because, I am blank. He says, when it's stored, that's where angry people come from. Notice he says angry people are born from the anger that is being stored. You're like, you become a whole nother little human being. This is why the Snicker commercial is so funny. You know, eat a Snicker, you're hangry, people get hangry. It's a basic emotion. You're storing hunger, you're storing anger like storing hunger, and it needs to be fed. What are you feeding it? Are you holding it on? Are you holding on to it? He says, angry people are born from that. They hold on to anger, and when the moments hits, it manifests in ugly words and actions that will later be regretted. Tis, tis, tis. He says the idea that we can get angry, parse it out in small bits, and get past it makes it a learned skill to keep all rooms cool, calm, and collected, especially the room for improvements. So I leave you with this. Small doses of anger is okay. One of the coping strategies that I use is I write it down. Yes, I'm a journaler, I'm an author. I write it down. I am angry because, I am frustrated because, I'm irritated because, I'm annoyed because, all those other things add up. I don't want to create an angry Lisa. That would be horrid. That's horrid. You don't want to be an angry Lisa. You don't want to be an angry you. You don't want to be angry anymore. So let's do it in small doses. Yeah, this was a good one. Very, very powerful. All right, that's my time. And I went overtime today because this was, I got into this moment as we talked about. It's so funny again how things are synchronistic. I witnessed that yesterday on the DV, and here you have a young couple that they're explosive, that they're punching each other. Angry people. Rather, if they would just do it in small doses and realize that, hey, I need a timeout. I need time apart. Give me a moment because I am feeling some kind of way, and people are waiting for the insults. They're waiting to be offended. And how horrible if you're the person on the other side that you say something unbeknownst to you that is an insult or a trigger to that other person that would cause you to be harmed. It would cause your life. It would cause something tragic. No. With that, I say, I love you. I love you. I love you. Have a powerful and productive week. I'll see you next week on episode 60. Be sure to connect, build, and share on all social media at lasuperagent. Love you. See ya.